Alanna, thank you so much for saying yes to us and being flexible with it. I loved how you showed me like this is my
Yeah.
free time. Yeah, and that worked perfectly. So thank you.
Exactly.
Yes, I've been through your Instagram,
Yeah, me too.
like learning, studying about your work and all the beautiful things Marie spoke about you.
Mhm.
And it is not easy to stand on those two sticks.
It is not, and I am always very open about this because I'm teaching people now. People have been asking me for a few years to teach, and I'm finally teaching this summer.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and it's been like I'm a teacher by nature. I used to teach at
yeah.
university, but
Mhm.
like yesterday, not yesterday, but last week, this woman just happened to be. I teach in the park. Like
Yes,
for me, the philosophy is like it's easier to learn, especially something like that with such
yes,
a lovely history when you're in nature. So I
Yeah.
yes,
just like I told her, I was like, I have my one footers, the baby. I call them my baby stilts,
yeah,
but they're
Maybe.
still into yeah, my
yes,
baby stilts, my little baby giraffes. As I
yes,
call them.
yes,
Yeah, but like I tell them, it's like it's think about connecting through the earth through the stilts, and then when everyone's like they want to hold my hand, which I do. I'm like, it's going to be a lot easier when you raise your hands to the sky because you're like just there's a balance, of course, it's physics, but just to like because it isn't an unnatural movement. It just kind of
yes.
like helps them get in their body. But it
Uh,
is hard. It took me 2 minutes to learn. I'm very clear about that, but it does not take. Not everyone's a natural.
Okay, so
Wait,
2 minutes.
yeah, 2 minutes. That's like,
Well, like I used to work for a different entertainment company in town.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
dance as well, so I was hired as
Oh,
a dancer, and it like I also act, so had to be in
yeah,
character.
yes.
And the
yes.
owner of the company, they literally asked me for 2 years, like every time I see them, it's like, do you want to learn how to stilt? I'm like, no, thank you. I'm clumsy enough on my own 2 feet. I don't need an extra 3 feet plus to add to that. And then I finally said yes, and we went to a park. She strapped me in, and I pulled myself up because you have to find all kinds of ways to get up, all kinds of ways to get up, and all I had was a set of stairs. So I used the rail and stood up and got my found my center of gravity, and I was doing my first. I think I had my first stilts performance about a month later as a
Wow.
skirt performer, which is
No.
yeah, which you have yeah. So that's I say a lot of people don't know. All right, let me backtrack. So
Yes.
you have
Yeah.
the stilts going on,
Mhm.
and then there's a giant hoop skirt, which is basically a hoop skirt but cylindrical. I think I may have a picture somewhere on my
Oh,
Instagram. Basically, it's fine when the weather's fine, but you have to know how to sway with it so you when you're still walking, you're always moving, even though like people don't like I'm strong enough to where it looks like I'm standing still, but no, constantly moving. But
Yeah.
when you have this hoop skirt, which sways naturally, but when
yes.
the wind goes, it acts like a giant sail. So you have to be very strong.
Uh,
And I
Yes.
can name maybe 5 very strong local stilt performers who can wear the skirt.
Yes.
And I'd say, honestly, there's only 2 of us, me and another woman. Oh, three. She no, she's in her 50s, and I forget this all the time. But
Yes.
three. I love her so much. I miss working with her. But
Oh,
you can't tell because we're just like I am the most
no.
beautiful thing, but the wind is going, and so
yeah, right.
yeah.
No, I mean, I saw it. It was like the way you're moving is so effortlessly. Yeah, like you can't tell. I'm like thinking your core must be very strong.
That's the first thing I thought. I was like, she got crazy core strength.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Like,
that's you know. People think, oh, it's all the legs. I'm like, actually, at the higher you go, it's more core. The
Yeah.
lower you go, the stilts, it's more legs.
Mhm.
yes. Oh,
Um,
wow. Wow. It's
Wow.
amazing. How long have you been doing it? I have so many
I
questions.
no, it's fine. I what year? I think what year is it? It's 2004. So I think I started stilt walking in 2018.
Oh, so it's not that
Wow.
long
Okay.
ago.
All right. It's about 6 years.
No.
But
Yeah.
that's enough time to become like
Yes.
very proficient in. I mean, you're probably would you consider yourself a professional still
Yeah, I
walking
think
Oh,
so.
performer?
for sure.
Yeah.
I actually have changed my title because there are a lot of stilt walkers, but there are not many people who can dance on stilts, and I mean dance stands
Uh-huh.
around these parts. At least I know that in other places, but I'm in Ohio.
Yes.
That's actually part of my personal mission is to bring back the diaspora to stilt walking. But as far as I know, I'm the only person who dances on stilts around these parts. So
Wow.
so
Okay.
I
Oh
said
wow.
stilt professional
Yes.
stilt dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's I've never. No, I've seen it. Like you see that stuff from a distance. I think
Yes.
you
Hmm.
just admire. Like okay, so in Venice Beach, like
Yes.
lots of fun,
Yeah.
eclectic things happen down there. And I remember. I'm not sure if you've seen. I don't even know how to describe it. Like there are these massive wheels
Like
that
a
were like there's like a
cycle.
person inside it, and they
The
do like
double, yeah.
yeah,
Is
and
it
they're like
right? So yeah, there's
yeah,
the
like
steer wheel, and then it's the German wheel, which is what I want to do.
okay,
So
okay,
yeah, they're in
yeah.
there, and they're just like,
Right, and they're doing like all these like twirls and stuff, and I tried it, but this was
mhm.
back maybe like 10 years ago. I did
Yeah.
not have the core strength, and definitely because it forces you to use your
Yeah.
body differently.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so it was in that point in time where I was like, I respect anybody who has that
Yes.
level of like body control to
Yes.
be able to like work with stilts and work with
Yeah.
like do more acrobatic
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I was
Appreciate
uh,
it.
mesmerized, and
I
that's
know.
something that I haven't really I haven't had the opportunity to try again. And I haven't been able to speak with somebody who does
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
well,
yeah,
I
Now we can start one 1 minute. You were saying one
on
foot.
1 foot.
One. He can start with 1 foot and then
I,
oh yeah.
I would a whole team. So if we needed stairs, I would need like
20 people.
I need like at least 5 people on each side. You know.
Oh, all you need is a park bench and a good teacher.
Oh,
Perfect. And now we'd have.
right,
I'm
right.
Yeah.
I'm I'm thinking when you are out there in the air, like
Mhm.
you are probably the tallest person in the park or anywhere you are on the
Mhm.
sticks. For me, I feel like that feels like freedom. I don't know why, but how do you feel? That's my assumption. How does it feel when you're up there and just by you're pretty much by yourself up there with the trees?
Sometimes I have my tall cousins with me, but when I'm up there, I do. It is very freeing, but I'm obviously literally lifted, but I feel like emotionally and spiritually lifted.
Mm,
And I've talked about this with other stilts performers, where I could be having the worst day. A few of my performances this year, because I fell earlier this year, and I've only fallen twice ever. But
wow.
I
Yeah.
fell and injured my back, so
No.
yeah, so to the point where I couldn't even sit up, and I was like, "Am I going to be able to do this ever again?" But once I recovered, and I think the not the last one I did, but the one before that, it was an event with my entire company,
Mm,
and I was just having the roughest morning. But
yeah.
as soon as I always take time to center myself as I'm preparing myself. But as soon as I sit up, I was just like, "Here I am." This
Yeah.
feels wonderful. It's freeing,
Yeah.
and then one of the things that uh, one of the reasons I still do this is whenever people see I'm so happy to see you. I'm like, I'm so happy to see you. And it's literally like a joyous circuit where
Yes.
people I have literally witnessed people have that dark cloud and it just dissipate and I can see their inner child. This
Yeah.
woman literally came off the bus one day. It was like rush hour. She's, and she looked
Yeah.
up and she's like, "Are you a fairy princess?" And I was like, "I am a fairy princess." And
You.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Beautiful.
Yeah, I know, and the feels like because you're an actor.
mhm,
Actually, when you say you were an actor, dancer, it because I was looking on your pictures and videos
mhm.
when you're doing it. Um, I'm hesitant to say because I think I may say it wrong. Stilt.
Uh, so there are many names for them. There's stilts, call them sticks in the Caribbean. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So sticks. I call them both.
Yes.
I think specifically because there are multiple kinds of stilt walkings. Some
Yeah.
people use I think they're carpentry stilts, where they're basically what drywall stilts. That's what they call it.
Ah.
Construction people use them to be stable while they nail.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
do those, but I
Yes.
use the
Yes.
sticks.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, this the stilt. So you know, the acting, the performance, you know, when you're acting you're completed in a different character, and
Mhm.
then dance, it's movement,
Mhm.
and you know, and having the athletic I feel it, you know, being there on all of those things, I feel like it all works together. And it's also like the woman would say, you're a fairy princess with the costume and everything. It's just like it's like when you go to Disney, you forget
Mm.
all your problems and you're
Yeah.
just there to be a child again. And I
Yeah.
feel like what that woman, probably that's what she experienced in the moment, and it just
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so and the way you move as well, you can see that you that the dance probably helps a
Oh, for
lot.
sure. I don't think I'd be able to do this if I didn't have like. I started dance when I was like 2, ballet. I didn't stick with it, but I did it like every now and then. So knowing how to move my body to make these certain shapes definitely helps.
Yes.
Especially like you said, like I have a very strong core, so a lot of the times, like yes, this does to kind of like give that magical element, but it
Mhm.
Yes.
also helps with like, oh, the wind just blew very like it's not that much farther up, but the weather is mm, a little more intense up there. People always ask, I'm like, how's the
Oh,
weather up there? I'm like, it's windy and about 15
Yeah.
degrees hotter.
That's
how is the
so
weather
interesting.
up there?
Okay, wait. So how, on average, how high are you like in feet? How high are you off
Um,
the ground?
So I usually, well, I have 2 pairs of tall stilts. One's 3 feet, the other's 1 meter. So that's usually where I am. But I always forget to add another inch or so for my boots that I wear when I stilt,
Oh yeah.
because I have very narrow ankles and slight feet, so I have to have extra support
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I understand. I got
on
the
my
same.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I'd say about 3 feet 2 inches usually.
Wow.
Yes.
And wait,
So
and
I'm a
so
total about 9 feet tall.
9 feet off the ground, there's a like definitive change in
Oh,
how strong the wind blows and even temperature. You said.
Oh yes, I
Interesting.
the sun is much more intense
Hmm.
because of well, just how our landscape, or if I'm in a park, the architecture is designed for people literally 3 feet shorter.
Right.
yes.
So there's not as much protection.
Yes.
But definitely the wind. I stilted for well, my company had a collaboration with the opera company here, and for
Okay.
part of the pre-show, because originally I was going to use my baby stilts on the stage, but it was just too loud with the thumping and the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for the pre-show, we did this kind of like speakeasy thing, but
Mhm.
it was windy, rainy, and this was around the time I was injured as well. But the wind was going, and I'm going around trying entertaining people, and I have this big feather collar that's going, but the wind and goes like sometimes I can, depending on the wind, I can just kind of like bear down and just hold a pose. I'm like, all right, let's hold this pose about for about 2 or 3 seconds, and then find a wall to kind of lean against. Either I lean against it or just have my hand against it.
Right.
Uh,
Yes.
but it is a bit of
Because
a difference, and our
Yeah.
bodies just aren't designed to withstand it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting for me. And
yeah.
so, and like, even to kind of bear that brunt of the wind, you have to hold that pose.
Yeah.
Um, but there's like that performative aspect as well,
It has to
Mhm.
like
be.
not breaking
You have to do
character.
it with grace.
Yeah, with
Oh,
grace. And I think that's kind of,
Yeah.
there's an element of that, like maybe that ballet. Um,
Yes.
oh, sure.
like
Absolutely.
yeah, like nobody in like outside knows like, oh, okay, like I'm kind of struggling right now. You know,
Oh yeah, it's
You have to look
definitely like my
scary.
own one.
yes,
Yes.
right, right.
You
And I
still.
Well,
respect. Yeah,
oh,
well,
go ahead.
I'm an actor as well, and
Yes.
that just kind of reminds me of theater. You know,
Hmm.
because when you're on stage, you
Yes.
can't fake it. You can't.
No. Your
You have to be
buttons are.
present.
Yeah.
For as long as you're on stage, and there that kind of reminds me of that as well.
Yeah.
Is you kind of go with the moment. Something might happen. Someone might flub a line. You just have to continue being in
Yeah.
the moment, flowing. And
Yeah.
so that kind of reminds me, or leads me to my next question in flow state. So
Hmm.
Mhm.
I imagine when you're up there and when you're performing, you kind of go into this state of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I am just present and I'm just flowing with the
Yeah.
performance and what I'm giving to people. Do you feel that? Is that accurate?
Yes, it is accurate. And it's interesting that you use the word flow state because I use that when I talk to other performers, with like
Mm.
usually jugglers, people who are like playing with fire, things like that. And I
Yeah.
never applied it to stilt walking. And you're absolutely, as a astute observation, because it is a flow state. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, one, I have to be absolutely present because it's a safety concern,
Right.
just for me and
Yes.
just mechanically, just
Yeah.
my equipment. And three, just like my audience is ever changing. It's literally, it is theater in a way. And other companies I work for, they really press the like staying in character aspect, this, that, and the other. Whereas when I perform and with my company, I'm very organic. So like,
Right.
yes, I am a fairy princess and I will engage with people, but I'm also very honest when some like I there are some companies that say, "Oh, don't tell them you get tired. Oh, don't tell them that like this happens or like if something goes wrong, don't tell anyone." I'm like, no, I am going to tell them because people I found
Yeah.
working with people, they want like they're happy to see me, one, and two, everyone ultimately wants everyone to have a good time, whether they're knowledgeable of that or not.
Right.
Yes.
And let me tell it just reminded me of a story. I
That's okay.
was
Let's do
working for yeah, I was working for a different company. I It's interesting because I the company that hired us for that gig, they started hiring me in my company in the future.
Yes.
That's another story. But like, well, I was in a park. It was a public events festival, and this like I'm out there doing my thing. I'll talk to anyone. But this man, he was talking to me, starting to like kind of like harass me a bit. And I'm like, okay, stop, blah, blah, blah. And I always say like, don't touch my stilts. I'm ticklish down there, something like that. But he kept trying to like grab at my leg to the
No.
point where it's like, okay, well, I'm working with this company that has this policy of like staying character. But before I even had to say anything, the crowd turned on him. And it was like, I can see everything up
Oh,
there. But just
yeah.
like seeing it happen all at once, it was like, wow. Um, the energy, like the flow of energy for me, like the flow
Yeah.
state I'm in, staying present, really in connection with my audience, but ultimately other
Yes.
little bits of energy and
Feel
just
your
watching them and just
recognize
shift.
danger too. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're taking care of you as much as you're
Mhm.
taking care of them.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that's a beauty of, human. Sometimes we forget how because there's a lot of bad things happening in the world, a lot of violence
Mhm.
and all these hate going around or whatever. We forget how our nature is good. It's goodness. We
Yeah.
have more in the world. In those moments, that's when you see the goodness in the people, coming together, and because that can be very dangerous for you
Mhm.
Oh,
when they
it's incredibly.
dangerous, yes. And so them recognizing it, they don't even do the same, they don't know the mechanics that goes into what you're
Mhm.
doing, but they can see that it's a lot of risks that being up there in the moment you're performing, you're doing this, but you're taking a lot of risks, and them taking care of you, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And you mentioned a little trick that you use, which I love. It's a trick. I say the trick because when you say I'm ticklish down there,
Oh
you
yeah.
let them know.
Yeah.
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 Like not
Hey,
every like
say to them
I'm
down there.
ticklish. Yeah.
Hey, watch out! Watch out!
Yes,
Yeah.
and you're learning how to operate in these environments that don't support you, but still find
Yeah.
your way to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah,
that's the thing is, I think the entire time I've been a stilt performer, dancer, whatever you call, on my sticks,
yeah. All your
I
state.
there's only been like one instance where like I did not feel safe. And it was one of those things where I was like, okay, the show must go on.
Yeah.
Um, it was something with like my company, so I couldn't like rely on someone else. I'm like, I'm the person to contact if things go wrong and something's going wrong with me.
Yes.
But um, yeah, so it's a very high awareness that I have to have. Like, no pun intended, but with see, it
Yeah.
just happens naturally. Like it's one of those things where you get into the flow state of still walking.
Yes.
You're talking about still walking. Like, look at all these height puns or energy puns, and it's
Yes.
just ingrained in the language. It's
Yeah.
Yes.
lovely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you mentioned your company.
Hmm.
What's the name of your company? And do you work with other people? Do you have like people you work with. It's the company you started. When did you start it?
Well, the company started in 2021 in October. I think its birthday is officially October 5th, 2021.
Yes.
And it's, I I will work with anyone and they can work with whomever they want. And I
Yeah.
basically have the stipulation that they follow the basic principles of my company.
Yeah.
First of all, community, inclusion, empowerment, and kindness is the newest uh,
Oh,
principle, which it was always implied before, but I was like, no, let's make this explicit. You have to be kind to
yeah.
work
Yeah.
with the People's Circus.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's interesting. Why kindness? Because I
Yeah.
feel like that
Yeah.
is a it's becoming more tangible in terms of like a theme that people are trying to implement
Yeah.
in our lives, and not just because I feel like we all need it in the world, but why specifically do you all feel that kindness was something that needs to be
Yeah.
definitively?
So I'm trying to word this. How would I word this? So kindness, it's needed. So the People's Circus was actually birthed out of gross mistreatment, financially, physically, emotionally, mentally, from a company that um, me and the other co-founders. That's how we all met. We all used to work together,
Mm,
Yeah.
and the people who own that company are not kind people. They are
Oh,
abusive. And
yeah.
so we at first this started as an idea for like a circus arts union. It's
Yeah.
like um big nerd. And I was like sitting, I was like, I don't think there's a union for circus artists in America. I think they have them in other countries, but I don't think there's one here. So I was like,
Mm,
let's do this. And then, well, one person had already been fired earlier in the year and she has started her own thing. She's really graceful about it. I didn't even hear her whole story until like months and months later.
mm,
Uh, Another person stepped down from her position because of that firing, and then eventually kind of she was fired. One person resigned because of that, because of he's like, I don't need this. No one needs this. I want to go do something else. I love it, but there's that.
yeah.
And then another person, he quit because again with the financial abuse. He was
Yes.
booked for an event. Uh, they took him off of an event last minute because they wanted to work when he had cleared his entire schedule and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And for me personally, this whole story with my stilts, I can send you that video. Explain like I told you about how long I've been stilt walking, and ever since I've been kind of going back and forth about getting my own pair of stilts.
Yeah.
In 2020, my mom told me, uh, I was like, Mom, no, I can use the companies, it's fine. But she said, for your next birthday, I'm going to get you a pair of stilts.
Oh.
Unfortunately, she passed away before my next birthday.
Oh, I'm
However,
sorry to hear that.
thank you. It's been She's been
Oh.
very integral to this whole journey. But
yeah.
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 that following summer, my birthday's in July 2nd. I just had
Oh.
one.
I
uh,
think that's what I thought, because when we were messaging, the one when you say you had forgotten, you
mhm.
were going through your birthday week. I saw that. I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
I cannot bother you. I see that you're
oh yeah.
celebrating.
And me and my best friend have the same birthday, so it was just double
Oh,
celebration. So
yeah, you
Beautiful.
got to.
That's beautiful.
yeah.
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 So like yeah.
Oh.
So she didn't make it to the next birthday, but a performer who also used to work for the same company and has and a similar she's also a woman of color. She ended up just
Mhm.
like moving to a different state entirely, but someone had reached out to her looking for a black female stilt walker in Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah.
so she sent it to me. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I'll do it. I still need, and at the time I was actively shopping for stilts, just to
Yes.
because I was like, well, I just want my own so I can practice on my own time because of my schedule. I
Yeah.
literally lost so much between 2020 or 20 2020 and 2021, just like lots of it. So I was like, you know what? I'm rebuilding my life. I can't make the circus practices, whatever. I'll get my own. But
Mhm.
I asked the permission from the company I was with. I was like, hey, they're looking for a black female stilt walker. They asked me personally, can I perform like under your insurance? I could find my own stilts because they knew I was shopping around.
Mhm.
But I was very open about this event. So they said yes, and a few other performers, because we were still people I was developing the idea of this union with. They offered me to use their stilts. I was like, okay, I tried this one pair. Daddy long legs too heavy for me. these other ones I'm used to. Then I tried these voltiges for my friend, and those are the ones I end up using. They're from France. They usually
Oh,
take a long. So, and this was when the supply chain was all backed up.
Oh
So,
yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, right
yeah. So
in
this
the
is that time.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was in. Yeah, the pandemic. Oh.
Yeah. I know. I know.
I know.
Oh.
But
Was that because that's how you, that it was that's how you lost your mom because of the COVID?
um. No, she died of calciphylaxis, which is a comorbidity of kidney failure.
Oh.
But I didn't get to see her for 7 months because they weren't letting people in the hospital.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I did see her in the hospital before she went home for hospice, and she passed away at home before I got a chance to see her there. But she saw my dad, my brother, and our
Oh.
dog who missed her so much. So,
Oh. Yeah.
so like,
Oh.
oh,
Yeah.
that was her grand was it her fur grandson, her
For
first
grand.
grandson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
but Andrea, her name's Andrea. But
Oh. Yes.
this the people who hired me, I didn't know
Mhm.
until I got there. There are people who knew me when I was a little girl and knew my mom. They used to work for my mom because my mom did community
Yeah.
outreach. So I get there and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's you. And they're like, it's you. And they had heard about, we're just catching up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get paid for this event. The money from this event I used to buy the stilts. And I was like, okay, well, I ordered them from, I think they're based in Paris. I don't know, somewhere in France. I'm like, okay, they'll get here in 2 months. That's fine. But I went to go to work and I came back and the notification was like, oh, the stills are here. And I started crying because it was almost a year, almost to the hour, the last time I saw my mom outside the hospital in front of my house. Like she literally, I gave her a hug and then she was going to the hospital to just get some treatments. And then she never left the hospital after that.
Mhm.
So I made this beautiful video, just
Yeah.
sharing that because people have been so supportive
Yeah.
of her like of my family and me with her
Yeah.
Yeah.
passing.
Right.
And I posted it and shared because I was like, do I want to post this or wait? I'm like, no, let me just post it. And the owners of the company I used to work for, they took offense to it because I didn't mention them in the video. And I was like, why would I mention you in this video? It isn't about you. And they had actively prevented me from buying stilts. It's like
Ah.
so and the thing, and yeah, it was, I don't want to make it about them, but they try to flip it and make it a secret. It's like, it's been no secret that I've been shopping for stilts for years. I've literally asked you. You made plans with other performers about purchasing. I never wanted, my dad jokes, and says, if you see, when I send you the video, you'll understand. I bought a golf bag and converted it into a stilt bag so I could carry things
Yeah.
easier. And he was like, it was the bag that made them mad.
Yeah.
But
So,
it's also off-putting. Like you have an artist who is doing, working for you, and they're buying equipment for them to get even better, and you take
exactly.
offense from that. That's
Yeah.
it. Doesn't make any
Yeah.
Yeah.
sense. The
It
math
makes,
is
Yeah.
nothing.
oh,
Today, how they say the math is nothing.
Yeah.
no, it isn't.
No.
I've, I don't know if they forgot, or maybe they just didn't think. I don't know. I don't,
Yeah.
because I didn't realize until after I left the based out. I forgot the point of that story. When the
Yes.
story is, I had gigs lined up. They tried to bully and strong arm me and trap me like they had other performers, some of which I didn't even know about until after I had been fired.
Yeah. Right.
Um, and I fortunately have many friends across the world, across professions. I don't
Yeah.
forget, but times like this
Yeah.
was a moment where um, I called my friend, good friend, she is a lawyer. And I was like, hey, gave her a quick rundown. And she's like, hey, I called her. I was like, can I copy on this email as my legal counselor? And she's like, sure. And basically, they weren't, yeah. I was just like, okay, well, I lost my gigs. And then I don't want to put this out there, but basically, there was a cyber hack on my Instagram. Someone, not 5 minutes after I got the phone, are going back and forth this email because it's my dad's birthday. I remember this. We were going to the movies. He and my mom used to go to the movies all the time. But I'm like, Dad, we're going to the movies. And I'm going back and forth with this person. I'm like, okay, whatever, let's go, Dad. And I start getting all these notifications from my friends who don't usually message me like that. And they're like, your Instagram has been hacked. Someone's made a pornographic Instagram account with your name and image. My brother thought it was funny. He's like, I don't know if we swear on this content. He was like, that booty was so white. I'm like, I know, it didn't even match. But I derailed my day. I fortunately got it taken off Instagram in a record 13 hours. Some people, it happens, they never get taken down.
Yeah.
So,
wow. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm just like, you know what? The reason why the People Circus exists, like that, again, and my story is very light compared to other people's. And I feel very fortunate that's my story. And I have the gifts and education to like fight against this. I'm like, you know what? This needs to stop because what we do, we literally, to quote another performer, he's like, we literally play with toys all day. I'm like, yes, we literally play with toys and make people happy, including ourselves. Like, there's no room for that. So that's why, like, the kindness was always inherited. Like, let's be kind to ourselves physically, mentally, financially, and like spiritually is in there. Like, that's not everyone's bag, but like, it's implied. So
you put a smile on everybody, including yourself. Special.
Oh man. That's I don't want to condemn the entertainment industry because there's beautiful people. And I think what you draw upon to create in any medium within the entertainment industry, it has value, and I think it's important for the life of people, for the live stream. But that's just an example of unfortunately the corruption that is rampant, within a lot of corporations and businesses, particularly within this art form. And I'm so sorry that you had to experience what you did. When
that's only the first part too.
Oh no, there's more. Oh man.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, like I don't want to interrupt you, but like,
I was just it's heartbreaking.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, like about there's so many beautiful people in entertainment, and people don't think it's in circus. And I'm like, honey, the origins of the circus are very cruel, and a lot of that has been filtered out by human rights, animal rights, but a lot of it's still there. But reasons why, like, I added kindness as an explicit principle of the People Circus is because even within my own co-founders, in 2022, my father's brother, he passed away like almost just a year shy of my mom's passing unexpectedly. And so it was
a lot within, like, sometimes some things, the wind just comes and hits you in the like at the same time, and you're just like, oh, okay, I need a break here.
Got a strong embarrassment. That's what you do. The wind's coming. That's basically what I've been doing with entertainment. But my own co-founders, I asked for a month off just for some grace because I was going like that was unexpected. Still mourning my mom. I had some health issues, and so they're like, "Fine, we'll reconvene in June." And so I reconvene in June. I'm ready just to keep going, pick up because it's Pride Month. We had a lot of stuff. I knew things were coming up. And instead of discussing that like I thought we were, it was, and instead of receiving the grace I thought I had, they basically had two of them. I don't say everyone. Two of them had like basically compiled every way I had messed up over the past few months or so, and added their own little things in there because I like and just unleashed it on me in publicly in a coffee shop. I thought and I'm a professional, like, whatever. I'm gonna listen to people. I'm gonna try to bargain. I apologize because like I don't even know why I'm apologizing, but there's obviously some hurt there. But I've had time to obviously lots of time to process since then. But like, this person, after I told, like, I let them listen. So they're like saying like I've been through this and the other, and you've been this, that, and the other. I'm like I've not I'm not done anything. You're mistaking me for our former boss. And that's been
Oh,
established since then.
yeah.
Um, and they basically implied that I should have killed myself. And the other person there sat there and said nothing.
No,
And nothing.
that's a coworker. That's somebody that you work with. Like,
Oh yeah, and the thing is, when you work in the circus, what we do is obviously very dangerous. So whether we acknowledge it or not, and I acknowledge it openly, I'm like, I trust these people with my lives because,
yeah,
like, and we are all stilt walkers, so like we all have the same like we understand.
yeah,
One of the people was she was actually my first ever stilt walking gig I ever did. Um,
yeah,
so that was incredibly hurtful.
yeah,
Fortunately, after that meeting, I had my day stacked. I was already heading over to one of my very long time friends' house to have an
yeah,
art day, and instead I was like, "We're going to have a cry day," and
Oh
yeah.
so,
yeah.
Yes,
but
you need that. You need it. You
mhm.
need
Oh
that.
yeah, stiff upper lip in
Imagine.
the business meeting, but I literally cried all the way down the street and all the way to my friend's house afterwards. But
That's
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 right.
that's cruel. Like there are things. Oh, I don't even know how to. Like there are even if you're angry at somebody, there are things you should never say, especially in this age where mental health is. I
Mhm.
mean, everyone is rocking with something. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's somebody. So he's an author of The Seat of the Soul, and
Hmm.
I remember I was at one of his lectures, and he said that please be gentle. Everyone is a fight. Everyone is fighting a battle they don't know about.
Exactly.
So imagine if that coworker had said that, and you don't have a friend to go and cry with, and then you go home and you have other things happening, and that's how we affect. That's how our energy affects everybody, and you can,
Hmm.
you know, our words are very very strong. They create the way the good words create, that's the same way the bad ones create as well.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
it's horrible to hear that one, the viciousness of allowing yourself to say such a thing to someone. It doesn't matter how much you dislike them,
Hmm.
but it's you know yeah,
Yeah.
words can be heavy. So
Right.
I was gonna apologize for the person. I'm
I know.
sorry.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I
like that's the thing. Yeah,
yeah, and that's the thing that was especially hurtful because like one night literally I divulged that was one of the things I'd been struggling with, or like with all the loss and things and just
yeah,
everything was like I was like I'm having like
yeah,
I had good friends who were already watching me. I was like just to open up. I was like, well, if you're obviously hurt, let me like thing is I love these people. Like I love them. They like I remember in like ending the meeting and like they're getting with their attitude and they're
yes,
like, do you have anything else to say? I was like, well, I love you guys. That's it. And like, I'm sorry that this, whatever. I can't remember exactly, but I remember saying because I love them because I do.
yeah,
And their faces kind of just like dropped. I'm like, whatever. Like, I
yeah,
think that's when they
yeah,
realized. I don't know. I can't speak on them, but
yeah.
and
Killing them with
it's
kindness. I love
I.
that.
Oh, it wasn't even a spiteful thing. It was just like an earnest thing. Like, because I can be spiteful, but I don't. I try not to lead into the petty
In the
anymore. Because I'm
moment, you
like,
didn't
that's
want to
not.
say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just
Yeah,
like so hurt. So I was just like, well, I don't know what else to say except for just like it just yeah, but I spoke with like other friends and I had no idea how vicious this person could be. Apparently he has a reputation that I didn't know about in a different community. I'm like,
yeah.
I wish someone had told me that. Like but
Would have been prepared. Yeah,
I was oh yeah, just on the path to forgiveness, which I was until you said mental health, it's everywhere. You never know what people are struggling with. Um
yeah.
this past last summer, last June, my one of my baby cousins, she died by suicide. Um, she has left her two little girls behind, and I saw one of the
Oh,
people who I had that meeting with, who I was like, yeah, like Layla Torre, and she is just so sweet, gentle spirit, and then, like I saw one of the people who was in that meeting, the one that was like ready to had pretty much mostly forgiven, and we were in public at the art museum, and I was just like, I cannot engage with this person right now. My heart's
no.
broken, but I think I was there for like a an art. We were doing a rent a show for an art show or
Yeah,
something like that, and it's like you said, you have to walk with gentleness. And like maybe
Yeah.
my, I think, yeah, I just like, you know what? The best thing for me to be right now is just like pretend like I don't even see this person. And
Right.
I walked right past her, and it wasn't that cruel. It was just like, I can't right now.
No, you
My
have
heart's
to
broken.
No,
like
you have
protect yourself
you
in
have
that moment.
boundaries. You have to protect yourself for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
But
and you go ahead.
well, no, it's just that makes me think about
Yeah.
forgiveness.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, not only for other people, but for
For
yourself and
yourself.
for the
Yeah.
situations that we as people find ourselves
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Um, it can be challenging to separate ourselves from those negative experiences or those challenging experiences. And
Yes.
so, oftentimes, when we experience things,
Yeah.
even when things are done to us
Mm.
or things happen, we aren't really the cause of the issue of the pain.
Yeah.
It's hard to separate ourselves from that moment.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we attach accountability or put blame on ourselves in those
Yeah.
moments.
Yep.
And so forgiveness,
Yeah.
um, it
Yeah.
it sounds like you have taken a lot of time to
Yeah.
not only forgive yourself
Yeah.
but forgive the other people who caused you additional strife or pain in those moments.
Yes.
And it's not
Yes.
an easy thing to do, particularly in the moment. You seem like a
Yes.
very nice
I
person, and
know.
maybe that's kind
Even
of
the
what.
way you handled it, I wouldn't have been able to handle it
Well,
that
yeah,
way.
I don't know.
Me too, right?
Literally everyone says that. They're just like,
Yeah,
you just
Oh.
my Steve's mother, who unfortunately she passed away this January, the one who had the same birthday, reason why I was in DC. This was her
Oh.
first birthday without her mom. But
Oh.
when
Oh.
she that whole incident, I was telling my crying in front of my bestie, she's like, she's give me a phone. She had this very high voice,
Yeah.
very soft voice. She's Alana. Next time someone said something crazy like this, all right, it's gonna be a little explicit. I just want to know.
yes,
It's gonna be an
That's
F bomb, but next time someone says something crazy like that to you, you look them dead in the eye and you say, "Who the fuck do you think you're talking to?" I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." I've personally not had to do that, but I have. I think people have figured it out, but like I
yes.
have been able to pass that advice to someone else. I was working an event, and this manager, she was laying into this girl for no reason, and the girl would
Yeah.
start crying, and I was just like, "Come here." I'm like, obviously, she doesn't want to work with you again. You don't need this life. I'm gonna let you know she's out of bounds. And
Yeah.
so, like, you don't have like just this little bit of empowerment. It'll make you feel a little bit better, and like maybe you don't say it explicitly outright, but keep that energy. And I do sometimes. Like, I've translated, like, you know what? You must have me mistaken with someone else, or they're like, oh, I'm a bit confused, or I just kind of like
yes,
polish it over, but like I keep that
yeah,
energy in my heart.
Like
So
yeah.
like a lot of people
yes,
are just like, I've got that little bit of advice from a lot of people.
Yes,
yeah.
it's a protection. You protect your soul in the
Yeah.
moment. Crush it.
But
You
even
know.
in those are teachable moments as well,
Yes.
because
Yes.
when you're then teaching people how to treat you.
Mhm.
And like when
Yes.
you have that, it's not even defining.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, hold on, let's just take a step back. Like,
Yeah.
what gives you the right to, what makes you
Yeah.
think it's
Okay,
me
to
this
talk to me
particular
this
way?
way. Yeah.
And so you're holding up a mirror to
Yeah.
them and putting the onus on them to then maybe do some work in the moment. Like, well, okay,
Yeah.
maybe I should take a step back.
Mm.
Hopefully, but I think that's a
Yeah.
really good tactic that a lot of people can use to
Sure.
educate people. And
Yeah.
again, it's not an easy thing to do in the
No,
moment. So
no.
I applaud you
I know.
for
It's not.
Yeah, it
Thank
yeah,
must be
you.
really.
I
Yes.
literally had to do that yesterday to someone. So
wow,
it's
Yes.
the whole someone was like attacking me. Like I just arrived and they're like throwing this attitude at me and I was just like, excuse me, did I do like I asked like, did I do something to offend you? Because
hmm
I don't appreciate the way you're speaking to me right now. And they still kind of had attitude. And we went about the exercise that we were doing,
Yeah.
and she tried to do it during the exercise, and I kind of just like kept the same
No.
energy, and she
No.
checked it real quick. I was like,
yeah,
and the
Yeah.
yeah,
thing is, I know personally for me, because I appear a lot younger than I actually am, people think they can pull or treat me a certain way because they think I'm some kid. I'm like, no, 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 no. Um,
I'm not an
I'm
adult.
a girl. I'm a grown woman. I'm an old. It's like I say, I'm like I'm an old hipster. I have just turned 35. I use scare quotes old, but
Yeah.
people think I'm like
Young, yeah.
mid-20s a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
so they think they can mistreat me, and like, you shouldn't be treating anyone this way.
Yeah.
So if I
Yeah.
have to be the face to tell you that just because I look younger than I am, to make you
Yeah.
realize that I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's good. And it
Yeah.
reminds me in high school, oh, way back when, um, I forget what class it was called, but we had I think it was probably like an interpersonal communications class in high school, and we had this football coach who, a football coach.
Mhm.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas, so they're kind of like
Mhm.
more like masculine, and so this guy, his name was Coach Hurt. I love this guy,
Oh.
and
Mhm.
he had this technique whenever we had conflict with another
Yeah.
student,
Yeah.
and he would do this. He said, "Check yourself," and he would always do
Mhm.
this with his thumb out like this. Check yourself.
Mhm.
And he said, anytime you feel disrespected or someone's speaking to you out the side of the neck, I think that's how he used to describe it. Anytime someone's speaking to you out the side of the neck,
Oh, it's talking out the side of your neck.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Talk or
Oh,
maybe, maybe,
yeah.
maybe I'm misremembering. But check yourself.
Yeah.
I
And
think it's East Coast, Texas. Yeah, yeah.
it may
Yourself.
be, it may have been, but it taught me kind of a valuable lesson in the moment. And even if you don't
Mhm.
feel confident in the moment, especially as a teenager, as a younger person,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have there's something in your head that's like, well, no, I shouldn't be allowing this person to say this thing or to treat me
Yeah.
a particular way or put me down and make me feel lesser.
Mm.
It's like it builds up the muscle to want to stand up for yourself. Even
Mhm.
if you can't vocalize it, it's an
Mhm.
energy that you put out and say, I'm not standing for this. And so
Mhm.
you just reminded me of that, and I do think that that's an important lesson for anybody to carry with them in
Yeah.
any aspect of their lives. You
Yeah.
know,
I know.
yeah.
Especially for women, for young women,
Oh
because
yeah, yeah.
as you're sharing all these stories, I'm thinking I mean, here in the acting industry, here in the film industry,
Mhm.
you're performing and you're vulnerable. You're literally, like you said, you're putting your life in the hands of all these sometimes strangers. And now I'm thinking
Mhm.
with your performance, it's live, and in the circus, I feel like I don't know if I'm right with this, but I feel like it's a men's world. I don't know why, but I feel like it's probably more men in the industry than women there. I don't know, or maybe the run people are
Yeah.
running it,
Mhm.
not the performers.
Well,
I don't.
like, actually, most of the companies that come to mind here, that they're women operated. I know the company that I
Oh,
used to work for, like the woman, like the it was woman owned. She got married and let him
yeah,
take over, which actually amplified a lot of the problems. But that's a whole other thing. But it's a lot of the issues stem from that I've realized is because it is historically a man's industry where
uh,
there's a lot of like
yeah,
bossing around telling people what to do. But
yes,
women, since we've been kind of like oppressed for like a very long time, there's that fight in all of us, which is why you spoke on forgiveness. I'm like, I completely understand why a lot of these people are this way and why they are attacking me, even though I'm very clear. I'm like, I don't want credit for your work and talents and ability. I know how hard you work to build what you do and to get your skills together.
right,
My goal is just to support artists do what they do, but there's uh, been a bit of pushback back in, like I mentioned, you mentioned the men masculinity, no, toxic masculine traits that are going back
yes,
and forth.
yeah,
Um, think I'm like, no, this is what we're not going to do. At least like with my company or any, like I've been even taken a step farther, or like any place that I am in and am present, I'm not going to tolerate that
mm,
because like I was
yeah,
fortunate, I'm empowered, which is why it's like a big
yes,
thing. That's
yeah,
the E, E for
yes,
empowerment in my
yes,
company. It's like, hey, a lot of people don't know that they can do this. Because performers, especially circus performers, like we are all so nice. Like I don't say I'm nice. I'm kind. I'm not.
yeah,
I'm not nice. But like a lot of us are very nice and kind, and so
yes,
we're easy to run over, and people do take
yeah,
advantage of that. I know several
mm,
people who have just straight up quit performing, which makes me so sad because
it was
they've
so good.
been taken advantage of so hard. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I'm glad you're able to start the company, and we work with others. And also, when an artist is one running, they know what the artists need,
mhm,
and for them to actually perform the best. because if you're taken care of, then you give your full self. And art, it comes from the
Mhm.
soul, so you definitely need a really safe environment.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, it's gonna take me to, you did a shoot with us. uh how
Yes,
was it? How was it? And how
I
did you feel
loved
the
it. I didn't know what to expect going in. So I've done modeling again since I was about two, on and off. So I've been on
Yeah,
shoots, sets, all types. And so I walked in, I did a little bit of research, like, okay, they seem very like natural, organic. Okay, cool. So like I just did like kind of like the minimum preparation, stay hydrated, things like that. And I walked in and I'm just like, I pride myself on my professionalism. So I was like, okay, I come in ready to work. And I think it was Marie who commented, and she's like, "Oh wow, that's hardcore. You just show up and ready to go." I'm like, "Yes," but everyone was so. I'm like, "Am I not supposed to be? I don't know."
Yeah,
Like today, I have my model hat on, and so like modeling. This is what we're gonna do. Model,
yeah,
like I in my training as a model,
yeah,
like there's so many things that like one of the things that stays like models don't talk. You can
mm,
sip on water. I don't follow the whole like you might nibble on like a long day, but like models don't talk. And that was not the case. And like I was so kind, I think people were packing to go to a different location when I arrived. So I was like,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna be like out of the way, just be friendly, just hang out. And it was just I really liked the energy. It was very casual, like as in a way like I felt comfortable. Like it was I think it's like a studio, so
yeah,
I don't say I felt at home, but I was like, I feel good here. Like I can
yeah,
yeah.
breathe. Um,
Yes.
you have such a great team. And then we
yeah.
had a different location, which I didn't know about until we got there. Which I was like,
Oh,
okay, that's fine. I'm just rolling with it. Um,
Right.
I was like, as performers, the show must go on. I'm like, okay, show must go
yes.
on, and it's
Yeah.
been probably a solid, not solid 10 years, but like almost 10 years. No, 20 years. Excuse me. That's why it's like 20 years since I've been on a shoot that had same like an active location change during the shoot, and it
Yeah.
was just nice to have it in my hometown at
Yeah,
locations I was
Oh,
familiar with.
yeah, right.
yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah,
That's good.
and just
That's good.
listening to these people from oh yeah,
No, no, no,
uh,
Yeah.
no, no.
well, just listening to the people all across the world from like, is it okay? Do people wear thongs in Ohio? Things like that, or like I know there's some pieces that are a little like have cutouts and things like that. I'm like,
Right.
we do.
Yeah.
The reservoir was a bit crowded because it's summer break and it was like so hot outside.
Yeah.
But like yeah, it was just interesting hearing this as someone who has traveled and this is my hometown, Ohio. I love it.
Mm,
We're a little
Oh,
like we might be a little slow enough, take some time, but like we're a world class city. We have TV and
yes.
internet. We know about these things.
we're a little.
But
Yes.
yeah, no, like when I went to college and undergraduate in New York State, they're just like, "Were
The
you
fast.
raised with cows?" I'm like, no, I mean, I know what cows look like. I've touched a cow, but Ohio's main export is soybeans, not cattle, just so you know.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. You
Um,
guys. Okay.
but as
Yeah.
That
far,
that's so funny because I think both of us, Dean and I, we probably have a similar experience to you. I'm from Texas. When I
Yeah.
moved out to LA,
Yeah.
a lot of people will
yeah.
still ask, "You all ride horses to work? Do you all like go, the rodeo and you live on a ranch?" I'm like, no, no. Dallas is a pretty, big metropolitan city, and, and you
I
for
am
sure.
from Rwanda, so they'll be like, do you
Oh
guys have
wow.
cars? Do you have swimming pools? And I'm like, no, we ride on lions. Yeah, we swim
We swim in
Yeah.
the night.
in
Oh
the
my gosh.
Nile and the ditches
Oh
and
yeah. With the
that's where we
yeah
swim. I was like,
yeah. Like I ride my tractor. Well, the thing is, some people do ride their tractor to school. So I'm like, I'm not the part of Ohio where like, yeah, I ride the tractor to school every day.
yeah.
Or pluck the corn out of the garden. I don't know. It's been a while, and people are like kind of waking up because I've been very loud about it. It's like I'm from Ohio, Columbus, not Cleveland, also city. So it's
Yes.
kind of like a joke now. But
And your family's from Ohio as well, or
uh, so yes, I was born and raised in Ohio. Like I was born. in a small town, about 40 minutes west of Columbus. But
Yeah.
I've spent the majority of my life in Columbus, outside of education, like graduate school, undergraduate, and just a bit of work. Uh,
Mm.
but my father, he's also from the same town. My mother was born in Los Angeles, actually. So
Oh,
I have family in California
yeah.
and
Good.
Alabama, like all over. So I always say that my brother and I, and now my nephew, are the most American melting pot people you'll ever meet. So um, we're Pacific Islander, but we're also Caribbean and Indigenous person, a few different of like Turtle Island,
Yeah.
Yeah.
West African, and Irish. So
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
wow. Yes.
So Maria, I don't
It's
know
a
if this is a coded
global.
question.
That's
Yeah.
global. Yeah.
So it's so like I like the whole global thing when I travel. People are like, where like some and airports obviously is like a little less loaded, but like in Ohio, I like literally last week someone asked like, you have such an exotic look about you, and I'm just like, thank you. I was born and raised here in Ohio.
Here.
I'm an Ohio girl, just like Holly Berry.
Yeah.
um,
I just know here in the US, people move state to state. Like you're born, somebody will be born in
mhm,
Alabama and you find them in Chicago. Like,
mhm.
um,
Oh,
because of,
so oh, sorry, you went out for a little bit and back.
uh, oh yeah, yeah.
I
So
heard moving states. That's the last thing I heard.
oh yes, I was saying that people could be like born in Alabama and then grew up in Florida and then now living in Los Angeles. So there's like people move state to state. And where I'm from, in back in Rwanda, usually if you're born in Rwanda, you everybody, all your ancestors are from Rwanda. Like everybody dating back. It's rare you find people moving from different countries because the language barriers.
Mhm.
So you just stay in
Mhm.
one kind of state because although we're all on the same continent, but it's like if you're
Oh.
from I don't know, Senegal, you would just be from Senegal. So when I moved here, because the U.S. so big, I that's when
Mhm.
I you can just travel anywhere with a passport in the within the U.S. And so some now I've learned that people are just moving states to states, just living life.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I
Someone
know.
I used to play basketball in high school for a hot second, and we had an exchange student from Germany. And I remember we were sitting in the car going to some, I think, tournament, and she's looking at the car, the windows, and she's like, "Your country is so big and varied."
Yes.
And I had to think about, I was like, you're right. She's from Germany, where it's like probably the size of Central. I don't know the comparison, but like we
Yeah.
have all these different climates, environments. Like it takes forever to get to some place. Like you can drive for a while and still be in Ohio or
Yes.
Pennsylvania, which or
Yes.
whatever. But
Yes. So it's
you're
like a
absolutely right.
whole,
I mean,
yeah, it's a whole continent speaking one language, the same language. And when you live
mhm,
here, you realize how big you don't realize the United States is a continent. You just think of it as a country. And then you get here like, oh
yes.
no. So sometimes my mom would be like, oh, Didine, I have a friend who is going to be in New York. Can you do this and this? I'm like, Mom, that's like you me asking you to talk to somebody in South Africa. Like that's what you're that's what you're doing to me right now. Just in that context, like
The
so
other
weird.
side of the country.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We're not neighbors.
Yeah.
No. I have to
No,
fly.
like same thing.
Yeah.
I had a friend who's an artist in Barcelona, and they're like, "Oh, I have an exhibit in your country." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, where?" And I think I was living in New York at the time, not the city, but just like rural New York.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh, it's gonna be in like Chicago, and it's this weekend. Do you think you can make it?" And I was like, "I am an undergraduate. I know. I mean, I
No,
understand it's like a skip,
not
hop, and a
gonna
jump
happen.
for you there, but like that is, and that's it. Yeah, I'm
No, I
sorry.
used
I'd
I
love to, but I
I
can't."
used to do the same. I used to do the same. I would like be texting somebody who's like, "Oh yeah, I have a talk in San Diego tomorrow. Do you think you can make it?" And that person is like in San Francisco. They'd be like, "Are you crazy?
No,
No, we're
that's
not coming." I'd be like, "Oh, I'm not a good friend."
yeah, right.
Whenever I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Now I can do it.
Y'all making me think
You know, you know.
Now
yeah,
I know.
right.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, are you good on time? We only
Yeah.
have a couple more questions. I know we've kept you for a little bit,
Yes.
but
Oh yeah.
yeah, okay.
No, it's fine. I just wasn't sure about the time zone, but I was like, I know for a fact that I'm free during this time, but we can still chat because I think there was this second part to a question I didn't answer or forgot. It's the ADHD, honestly.
No
Yeah.
worries.
But yeah, I'm good on time.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to ask you after perusing your Instagram as one does. Um,
As one does.
I wanted to kind of talk about your sense of style because I noticed
Ah.
something, and there's something very specific that only fans of the Fifth Element would know, of which I am a huge fan. You have you're cosplaying as Lilu, and I saw that I'm like,
Mhm.
this woman has taste, and so your sense of style, and your sense of fashion.
Yeah.
How did that grow
Mhm.
to where it could be something that where you feel comfortable expressing yourself and speaking through your sense of style?
Oh man, I have always been a weird art girl, so I think just being always being comfortable wearing what I want to wear. Um, I I'm just trying to tell me how do I want to say this? I guess having been in the performing arts at such a young age and then having adults recognize that, oh, this child, she's very creative. My grandmother, she gave my first paints and all this stuff. And then I was also the first girl in the family for like a generation. So I got all the dresses, clothes, things like that.
Of course.
Right.
So yeah, so I always had like clothes and then I was not allowed to dress myself. My mom always just like, you're not wearing your hair out, you're going to have it braided, things like that. But by the time I got to my teens and having the freedom to express myself in a safe place, because where I went to high school, it's actually, at the time, it was it's still college prep. I need to go back and visit, but they had such they nurtured the arts a lot. Like, I remember a visitor walking in there, so they're like, wow, you guys really are in La La Land here, because there's art all over the walls.
Oh.
They were just very nurturing. So like it was full of weird, high achieving kids.
Yeah.
So even though I did get picked on, and like I got called out for my hair and just like not being up to trend, and I'm like, thank God I wasn't up to trend because y'all look foolish still. But
Yes.
Oh.
having that, yeah, like that support and just like the safe environment and being surrounded by the arts. And sometimes I did look back at some of the stuff I was wearing. I'm like, man, what were you thinking? But you know what? I've
You own, you own
like
it.
it's
You're
a
like,
little bit of like wearing what I like. Yeah, like I own it. Like, this is what I look like today. But
yeah.
for me, my style comes from just wearing what I like and what I feel comfortable or comfortable wearing,
Yeah.
and that changes every day. Like, so as far as developing and nurturing that is like I'm being honest and true with myself. Or like today, I'm wearing this is like one of my jumpsuits because like I don't know how much you've been paying attention to my internet, like my Instagram story. This week has been a doozy. I was like, you know what? I'm wearing something bright.
Oh
I
yeah.
like it. It makes me happy. I look good in it. I feel good in it.
Yes.
And which is why I tell people when they're like, I wish I could wear something like that. I'm like, you can wear something like that.
If it
It's
makes
just
you.
like kind of like, yeah, makes me feel good. And I feel like a lot of people, even myself sometimes, when I get like overwhelmed, I'm like, what are people going to say? This isn't really trendy, or like maybe does this match the environment I'm going into? And for me, whenever I get those feelings like that, is like your coach is like, check yourself. Like, I take a
Yes.
step back and like, hey, what's really going on here? Like, I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I'm
Mm.
a little sad, I'm frustrated. So
Yes.
I kind of like take a step back and acknowledge like what's really going on for me. But when people ask, well, like, I wish I had style like yours, I'm like, you can have a style like you, and I think that'd be better. Just
Yep.
saying.
Just saying.
Uh, but
Just
honing it,
saying.
and then yeah, just saying. Like, because like I feel like when people really wear what really makes them like, when they wear what really aligns with themselves, that's how that's when the fabulousness happens. Um,
Yes.
just for an example, me and my bestie, we have completely different, like, we have a lot of similarities, including her being 8 hours older than me.
Yeah.
But we have completely different senses of style. And when we go out together, we both look fabulous in different ways because we're both
Yes.
wearing things that like kind of align with our own
With
selves. So,
yeah, it's
yeah.
weird. So for young women out there, for the people in the arts from
Mhm.
all around the world, in any industry, really, just trying to figure out who they are and figuring out themselves and what their role in the world.
Mm.
Okay. So I guess for just to culminate all the trials and things that I've gone through, witnessed other people go through, it's been interpersonal. And one thing I would tell like women and girls, anyone really,
Yeah.
is when someone comes for you or attacks for you, slanders you, just somehow some does something that's not right with to you. Like remember that it's a them problem. Uh,
Mm,
it has nothing to do with you.
mm,
Uh, whatever the way we treat people is usually what we see in a reflection. Or like that's not what I want to say. I guess people tend to project their own insecurities, issues upon people, especially when they see people who are doing something they want to do, something that speaks to their heart, but for whatever reason, it's not happening in their life, so they believe.
Yeah.
So whenever someone attacks you, seeming out of the blue, remember it's not you, it's a them problem. You're doing just fine. Focus on you and look for your supports
mm.
and not just your friends, but like have a varied support system. Like if
Yeah.
you're in the entertainment industry, be friends with non-entertainers or just talk to non-entertainers. If you are, I guess for an example, like of my friends, the house I went to, the Christ, she's a medical professional. I mentioned my lawyer friend. I have friends who do like they're custodians. Be friends
Yeah.
with other artists. Be friends with like if you can be just have a wide and varied circle if you can for your
Yeah.
sounding board because it's easier to get caught into that like feedback
Yeah.
loop. But
Yeah.
remember just like trust yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's beautiful. Yes, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
We have to remember to trust ourselves, and definitely, I love what you just
Mhm.
said to have a rainbow of friends, from different
Yeah.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah. Wide
fields, a
spectrum of
wide spectrum. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Exactly, a wide spectrum of friends. Thank you for
yes,
wording that so beautifully. Because I always think of that letter. I think some royal person said to beware of artists because they float with all levels of society. I'm like, yep,
yeah,
that's me. I float with all levels of society.
yes,
And that I don't have a problem with it because I'm not trying to suppress people, but people who do
yeah,
tend to be a little.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's important
absolutely.
because you learn from different people who think differently
Yeah,
than you, and like you said, that feedback loop can be dangerous because it's an echo chamber, especially on
yes,
social media, which we won't
yeah,
get into right now. But
Mhm.
yeah,
yes,
Oof.
yeah, it's I was gonna say desperately important, but it's vital, I think, for the
yeah,
growth, for our own personal growth,
yes,
emotionally, spiritually, and all of the above.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah. Thank you so much
I
for
know.
that message.
Yeah, yeah. It's important to remember,
Hmm.
Yeah.
even for us too.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is well, thank you for inviting me because like I've never done like a podcast before. So this is my
Yeah.
first time kind of doing this or this kind of
Yes.
conversation. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate the invitation. And I
Yeah.
realized I never finished speaking on the photo shoot, which I love. Um, I just like love the opportunity because the whole philosophy behind the clothing and like how it's made,
Yeah.
having actually been able to wear them. Like there are a
Yeah,
few items I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wait for this to drop and I might buy it myself.
right.
And just being open with the concept and just having the freedom. And honestly, like I wish I had prepared a little less um for the shoot, like had a little less polish because like you know what? I feel like the philosophy is aligned, especially with, like the hair extensions. When she pulled it, I was like, yes, I I love this. This is my weird art girl coming out.
Yeah,
Um,
Oh.
But
Yes.
just thank you for the opportunity. And this is like a lovely conversation. Let's be
Thank you.
friends.
Yes,
um,
Yes, yes,
yes.
yes,
so
absolutely. I mean, you were so wonderful. I didn't actually realize it was your first time because I didn't realize you were
oh,
so,
Yeah,
yeah. I guess because you're also a performer, you have a good presence,
yeah,
good conversations, and um, not not afraid to tell the truth, not afraid to be yourself. And
oh yeah.
I think that's what the world needs. And so I hope in the future you do more of these conversations,
yeah.
um,
Oh, thank you.
because yeah, your voice needs to be
Or you
heard.
come back, or you come
Or
back
you
and do
come
another
back,
conversation
we
with
can do
us
another
if we're lucky.
conversation.
I'd like
Yes.
that too. I might be out in LA soon, so who knows?
Oh, you
Good.
might be. Oh,
But
yes.
it's
Please know when you
oh,
come,
I
get together.
for sure, oh, absolutely. But yeah,
Yes.
like one of the things that I value honesty like more than anything because like part of the reason why there's so many issues in the world that people are being dishonest with other people and most importantly they're being dishonest with themselves.
Yes.
So I always make a point. It's like, hey, I'm going to be honest about this
Yes.
thing. You may
Please.
like it, but
Yeah. Or
I'm only
not.
saying because
Hey,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. This is me. You can take me or not take me.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not everyone's cup of tea, and that's cool. There are billions of people in the world.
We're
Like
not meant.
I
We're
wouldn't
not.
want to be billions of people's cup of tea.
No,
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 you don't want that. We're not meant to be liked by everybody, and that's
no,
okay.
no.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But we do like you, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We like
I like y'all too. I'm like, I was hang out.
so let's
Uh,
try. Let's
oh
do
my
it.
gosh. Like, yeah, let's chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
thank you
just
again for this. And I can't wait. Like, sorry. I've been telling people, like, a few people, just because, like, putting out fires, moving parts, don't start your own company is terrible. But I was like, I'm going to be in this conversation. It's all about authenticity. I can't wait to tell y'all about it. I don't have all the details, but once I do, um, yeah, this has been really lovely experiences, what I'm
oh,
trying to
thank
say.
you.